Well, good evening, Inner Circle. Inner Circle Unite. We are in the series now on wholesaling here. This is a 4 or 5 part series that we're doing, and we've already went through contracts and negotiations. We've gone through phone scripting, which we could probably do again to really hone that in. That's a pretty important component of all this. And today we're talking about in-home appointments. And I'm very excited for this. This is probably going to be more storytelling than it is actual anything else. Just how to talk to people and how to sell yourself and how to build rapport, build credibility, and all that kind of stuff. We're going to be reviewing what to bring, some items that you might want to include in with your credibility kit, and just talking about, like, once you've made the appointment and you're going out to the house, what do you need to do? And I'm very excited for this particular one. I'll be telling a lot of stories, conversations that I had with sellers, and all that kind of jazz. If you have any questions, make sure that you put them in the chat section, and we'll get to Q&A as they come up, and definitely have a Q&A session at the end. And I guess without any further ado, we're just going to go ahead and get started. So again, welcome to the call. And I will be, in the next week or so, just as a little side note here, have the system built for you guys to go in and see the recorded versions of all of these trainings that we've done. So I'm diligently working to find the right platform. I think it's Dropbox, and all the supporting documents will be in there. It'll be very easily laid out, and everyone will have access to it. And I think it'll be easier and better than our particular SSICinnercircle.com. However, stay tuned on that. So, okay, so let's just go ahead and start out with our credibility kit. Guys, this is really going to be the most important part of this whole process, is knowing how to talk to someone. Almost anyone can funnel through talking to someone on the phone. Almost anyone can look up comps. Almost anyone can do a repair estimate. Almost anyone can do those kind of activities, marketing, sending out postcards, posting on Facebook. Most anyone can get potentially a motivated seller to call you and say, please come make me an offer on my house. Handling yourself inside of the house is really where it's going to make someone who knows what they're doing is going to get the deal, if it's a deal, and someone who's fuddling around might not get it. Okay, this is really where the rubber meets the road. So in our credibility kit, here's just kind of some things that we've developed over the time that you might want to bring to this. Some people completely shy away from this, and they just bring a manila folder with a contract. At the very least, you bring that. Okay? At the absolute very least, bring a contract to every appointment that you go. I'm going to say this again. Bring a contract on every appointment that you go. Vital. If that's the only thing that you have time to prepare, bring a contract, because you never know. You might walk in and have someone ready to sell their house at a price that you're willing to buy it at, and if you don't have a contract, you're sunk. Okay? So bring a contract at the very least to every appointment that you go to. So in a credibility kit like this, or at least a kit that you'd bring, a package that you bring to every house, here's, like, if you have time and you really want to dial this in, here's some things that you might want to do. Bring a folder. Okay, we've got real estate rehab folders that are nice and pretty. They're glossy. They weren't that expensive. Graphic Connections made them up for me. They look really nice. So I've got a nice folder, and that looks really good. You can put your insert on your business card in there, and it looks great. Also, I bring a flyer, And that flyer is gonna look a lot like it's the same branding as my um, business card, as my folder, as my door hanger, all that kind of stuff. It's got my logo on it. And let's see if I can very quickly find it. Find that. I might have to go to my email address. So let me pull it up really quick. See if I can do it. So I'm looking for our flyer. Let's see if that comes up. It's not coming up, but let's do graphic. I think this is not it. Well, a good presenter would have had this preloaded up. And I think one of these is going to be it. Oh my gosh, come here. Where are you at? Let's do flyer proof. Oh, look at this. This is all great. Okay, so this is what I was looking for. So this is what my flyer reads for. Sorry about that, guys. But this is what my flyer reads. My folder looks about the same. My door hanger looks to be about the same. It all looks kind of the same. It's all kind of branded to Real Estate Rehab with the colors, with the white background, and this is what it looks like. So when I get to these, you'll know what they look like. The folder looks the same. The flyer looks the same. The door hanger looks the same. I will put a door hanger in that packet just to have something else to include. Obviously, business card. That's going to go in there. A welcome letter, and that welcome letter is basically going to be a little bit about your company, what how why you do what you do. Let's see if I can pull that up now too. Boy, I was woefully unprepared for this call, wasn't I? I thought I was all set and ready to go. Let's see. I know where this is at, so let's go to. I think this. Here it is. Here's my welcome letter. It's kind of also my proof of funds. So right now we're at the welcome letter right here, and my welcome letter basically says this. Real Estate Rehab LLC is a locally family-owned and operated business that specializes in buying distressed properties. Has bought and renovated properties all over the Greater St. Louis area, including St. Louis County, Jefferson County, and St. Charles County. We buy houses that need work and renovate the property, either sell it to a new buyer or lease it out to one of our tenants. RER's ability to buy properties in any condition, area, and price ranges stems from over 16 years experience, our extensive network of contractors, title companies, attorneys, service vendors, and sound financial backing. While we typically pay cash for properties, we also use several lending sources and institutions in order to properly leverage and scale our business activities. RER's financial backing includes several direct lenders, several private lenders, our own capital, several partnerships, and several local banks. Altogether, RER has $7 million available at any given time to acquire and renovate properties. We look forward to working with you and finding a solution to buying your home. You could use that exact verbiage if you wanted to. You could change it up a little bit. But that's kind of our welcome letter / proof of funds. Okay. So that's in there. Testimonials is great. If you have a couple testimonials to include, of people that you've bought houses for or houses from before. We've got some great testimonials over the years. I'll give you an example of a testimonial. We bought someone's house subject to one time. I think we talked about this on the call last week, but we bought it subject to and was able to buy the property, pay more than anybody else was willing to pay. And we bought it, renovated it, put it on the market, sold it, and paid off their note in like 3 or 4 months. And the guy was ecstatic. He was just like, I was leery about the situation, but it was my only option, and I decided to take it. You guys seem like you were reputable. But again, I was a little skeptical of it, but I just want to say that you guys were a really professional company. You did what you said you were going to do. And thank you so much. You really helped me out in a great situation. That's a great testimonial to include when you're talking to someone, especially if they've said, no way, Jose, I'm not going to do any type of owner financing. Well, that's a great way to just have them read that testimonial. Okay, well, tell me how that works. Right? We've got other testimonials of people that have just bought their house. Hey, we put, mom into a home. We needed to sell this house for a certain price. Thanks for so much for putting this together. We had no other options. I inherited this house. I mean, we got some really strong testimonials that we can include in there, and you can build those up over time. But just 2 or 3 really good testimonials is a very powerful way to just add that credibility and gain that rapport that you're really here to help people. Okay. Pre-approval or proof of funds. I've combined my welcome letter and my pre-approval proof of funds letter, but you might want to include a pre-approval from your bank, a pre-approval from along with a pre-approval for hard money. You might want to have several pre-approvals or proof of fund letters in there so that they really do realize that you do have the ability to close on this property. A contract that should be in 20 font and bold and highlighted and underlined in italics. In fact, I might do that right now while we're on the phone. I mean, this is the most important part. I mean, this is absolutely huge, guys. You have to have a contract with you. Okay. Again, at the very least, if this is the only thing that you have time to muster up, get that together. Okay. That is key. And we covered how to fill out the contract and how all that kind of stuff works. What I would do is I'd fill out most of it as much as you possibly can. Maybe if you know what you're willing to pay, maybe even put the price in. Oh, I didn't bring an eraser, so this is the price I'm willing to pay. Okay. We can get to that in a little bit, but bring a contract. Seller's net sheet. This is really interesting because where do I have this here? I just had it pulled up. So, of course, when I was looking for everything else, I probably got oh, here it is. Very easy. Okay, so it was just a couple clicks away. All right, so this is a really good thing to have if someone is just not sold on your price. Okay, I don't know if I can take that low. I don't know. I don't understand. It's not making sense. I don't know. Maybe I'm just going to list it with a realtor and try it that way. Okay, that's always a possibility, but let's go over what that looks like because just because you list it at a certain price doesn't mean it's going to sell for a certain price. So I've kind of have a seller's net sheet to kind of show you why why we do what we do and why we can really help. Okay, so here's a sample seller's net sheet, and you might want to adjust this depending on what price range that you're playing in. If you're playing in the smaller price ranges or larger price ranges, I just do a sample one and just kind of show them like, maybe I'm going after a house that's worth 200 when it's done. I don't think I would go in and change this and spend the time to do this, but I would show them this, okay? And maybe if you wanted to, you could do the math and you could have different price ranges, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300, and have them as different sheets down here. That's actually probably a pretty good idea. Maybe when I upload this into Dropbox, I might do that. already pre-done for you guys, and then you just bring the one that's closest to the sale of the home. But this is going to basically show them what they're going to net if they were to sell this house with a realtor. Okay, so and let's take the situation where they've inherited this home. They live out of state. They're just in town this weekend. Go through the family heirlooms and try to find a solution to get this house sold. Okay, so here's the anticipated sales price of $150. The list to ask ratio in your market is 96%. Meaning, if you list a property at $150, you expect to get about 96% of that price, which means $144. That blows a lot of people's minds right out the bat. Okay, that's consistent across pretty much all markets, but some markets a little bit less, some markets a little bit more. But let's just say that 96 is the number. If you list a property for $150, you're going to get $144 for it. Okay, you have a mortgage of $95,000, so your total debts of $95,000. Okay, your closing costs and things like that are all going to be found here. Home warranty, $450. A buyer in this market is going to ask for a home warranty. You got about $500 in closing costs. You got taxes that you're going to have to pay on the property. Professional fees is going to be a realtor's fees of 6%. Agent closing fees. A lot of agents are charging $375 for a closing fee. This is all pretty standard stuff right here. This is not out of left field whatsoever. So you got about $12,000 in selling costs after your 96% list to ask ratio. Okay. Other deductions: $5,000 repairs, seller's concessions, $4,500. The buyer might ask for seller's closing costs. Okay. It's not uncommon in this price range for that to happen. So you got another $9,500 in total deductions that you got right there. So your total deductions is $116, and that's a lot of deductions right there. Then you got 4 months of holding costs, okay? Because it's not ready to go on the market right now. You still got to put some repairs into it. Clean the carpets, do some painting and all that kind of stuff, because the house doesn't need all that much. But to try to get that price of $150, you're gonna have to do that. So you got 1 or 2 months to get that together. Then you got maybe a month to sell it and a month to close it up. So you got 4 months of holding costs. That's another $6,000. And your approximate proceeds are going to be $27,000. Your net is going to be $21,000 after your holding costs. Okay, so you're going to net $21,000 on going through all this and fuddling around and doing all this. My offer at $105,000 is going to net you 10 grand today. That's pretty powerful, guys, because there's no agents with me. There's no other closing costs. There's no repairs that you got to do. There's no open houses. There's no hiring realtors. There's none of that stuff. I buy it for 105. We can make this deal happen very, very quickly for you. Okay, so that's where this is maybe important to pull out. I wouldn't pull this out unless you're having a little bit of pushback on price, but this is a great way to kind of just go over and say, listen, if you want to do this, this is this is a pretty realistic scenario of that you'll net. Okay, and what happens if the house needs more than $5,000 of the work? What if it needs a new kitchen and bathrooms and a roof and all that kind of stuff? Now you got $30,000, $40,000 worth of renovations that you got to do on top of that. Do you have the time and the wherewithal and the know-how and the want to be able to go and do all that stuff? No. Okay, so this can be a pretty powerful document to pull out. So let's get back to the list here. So we've gone through the folder, the flyer, the door hanger, business cards, welcome letter, testimonials, pre-approval or proof of funds, obviously the contract, and just reviewed the seller's net sheet. Pull out the tax records too. Okay, do your homework on this property. Go in and print out the tax records so that you can see if that person really is the person that owns the house that's trying to sell you the house. Okay, this is going to be good because especially like if you're dealing with someone who inherited the home, you'll know if you're dealing with someone who's got you'll need to provide a power of an attorney and a death certificate to the title company if it's gone through probate or not. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can find out from that. And this is also good in case you're dealing with someone and they are real cagey about a couple things. Well, if their name doesn't match the tax record, say, well, are you the owner of the house? You know, so that's always good to know. And also, you know, hey, listen, tax record says it's 1,150 square feet, 3-bed, 2-bath. Is, you know, just make sure the tax record is correct when you're walking through the house. Okay. If you have time, the asset acquisition worksheet, that's more of like the lead sheet. Make sure that you've got that. And then, actually, no, I'm sorry. The asset acquisition worksheet is, if you've been to our bus tours, you'll see what that is. And again, let me see if I can't pull it up relatively quickly here. I think I can. So let me start a new tab in the drive here. I'll go to the drive. Most of my stuff is out of the drive here. Oh, I just got to show you this really quick. This is really cute. This is in a house that we bought today. It's my little baby Nicholas.
Come back, Nicholas.
The floor has a hump in it, and he's jumping on it. Kind of funny. Okay. Nick Jr., star of the show. Okay, so let's get into, let's see. Where is this stuff? I don't go into this anymore. Here, events, bus tours, and this is, let's see. When was the last bus tour that we did? Okay, here it is. So this is what I'm talking about. The where are we at here? Seller packet items, asset acquisition worksheet. Okay, so this is fill this out. Okay, this is beyond the lead sheet. What you want to do is you want to fill something like this out. This is kind of what I use in my office to look at properties. You could develop one a little bit differently with more information, less information, but they're asking 90, how many beds, baths, and square foot, any notes that you have, repair scope, estimated repair price, comps for as-is sales, so properties in that kind of condition, what are they going for? After it's fixed up, the retail sales, what are those going for? What are rental comps? You know, can you rent $950, $975? You know, look up rentalmeter.com and put that information in. Average price per square foot for as-is comps, maybe that's $82 a square foot. Average price per square foot for retail comps, maybe that's $110 a square foot or $120 a square foot. Put this stuff in there. Figure out what your exit strategy is. I'm going to wholesale this, or I'm going to keep this as a rental, or I'm going to rehab it. And then put what your Mayo is and any other comments like, hey, when you're at the house, make sure you're looking for this. Or verify the square footage, or whatever the case may be. Okay, so fill this out and you have this ready to go. You're a prepared guy or you're a prepared gal. Make sure that you've got something like this that can really help you in determining what price you can pay while you're at the house. Okay, getting back to our list here. Okay. As is comps, pull out a couple of those, print out a couple of those as is comps, and keep those with you. Okay. So if you say, well, I'm asking 90, well, you know, homes in similar condition are really selling around 65, and I'm willing to pay 70. So I think that's a pretty fair shake. Okay. Pull out retail comps. I don't really like to pull punches when I'm with someone. If I think it's worth 150, I'm going to tell them. I'm not going to say, oh, it's only worth 135 and then think that I pulled the wool over their eyes. If I think it's worth 150, I'm going to tell them, but I'm also going to say, hey, listen, it's going to cost a lot to get it up to 150. And I think that you know that. Okay. So maybe you don't feel comfortable doing that, but that's fine. That's just kind of what I do. And then also maybe pull some rental comps and print those out and say, hey, I found a couple of these. I'm going to keep this as a rental and lease it out to a new family and this is about the going rate. This is what I think I'm going to be able to do. That might be really, really a good idea to do, especially because they're thinking that you're trying to steal this property and turn around and make a mint off of it. But if you're going to rent it out and only charge $950 a month, put that out there and say, listen, I'm only going to make $950 a month off of this, and I'm going to have a mortgage on it when I'm all said and done. I'm only going to make a couple $100 off this. So every dollar counts when I make an offer. Okay? And then a stock repair sheet. I don't have a stock repair sheet built for a seller's purpose, but you could just come up with this. This is just, if you have time, maybe come up with something like this. You know, hey, painting a house is $3,500. That's what all the going rates are from the painters. I can put a roof on for about $5,000 to $6,000. HVAC is between $4,000 and $5,000. A new kitchen I can put installed with appliances for under $10,000. Bathrooms, if it's just a resurface of a bathroom where you're going to go in and glaze it, well, I budget about $3,500 to $4,000 for a bathroom. If I have to completely redo the bathroom, I budget between $7,000 and $9,000. You know, maybe you want to put something like that together. Those things are not imperative, but it just helps with your cause. Okay. So again, guys, here's the rundown: the folder, flyer, door hanger, business card, welcome letter, testimonials, pre-approval, proof of funds, the contract, seller's net sheet, tax records, and if you've got time, the asset acquisition worksheet, as is comps, rental comps, retail comps, and maybe a stock repair sheet. This should maybe take you, I don't know, an hour or two to kind of organize these things and put them together and put them in a drive folder and have it all together, okay? And it might take you an hour to prepare for each appointment. Probably not that long, but you really want to do your homework. You want to look at the comps. Fill out this acquisition worksheet. You want to really go through that and figure out what you're doing, okay? Figure out what you're going to be offering on this property, figuring out what's a fair offer, what would you like to try to get it for, what's going to be a steal for you, okay? And do your homework on the neighborhood, okay? Figure out what other houses are going for in that kind of condition, figure out that kind of stuff. Arm yourself with a lot of knowledge. Hey, listen, houses in this neighborhood are taking about 40 to 60 days to sell, you know that information. Know that the neighborhood next door, the neighborhood just down the block, you can't use those as comps because those are newer houses. Know the school district. Arm yourself with all this information so that you can confidently talk to the seller and know what's going on in the area, because they certainly do. Most of the time they do. They know what's going on in the area. Now, this, once you get this down, running the comps, it might take 15, 20 minutes once you've done this a couple times and you're pretty proficient at it. So get that portion of this down, have this together. And do you absolutely have to have testimonials? No. Do you absolutely have to have a welcome letter? No. Do you absolutely have to have a folder or a flyer? No. Okay. This is just in a perfect world. And I know someone like Randy is looking at this and salivating, saying, hey, I'm putting all this together because that's what kind of guy he is. He's going to make all this stuff and to make it all look perfect and beautiful, and he's going to have a nice little packet. It's going to be something he's proud of. Okay? You don't have to have all this stuff. All this stuff just helps. Okay? Now, let's move on to the portion of the house or portion of this particular training, excuse me, where we're actually at the house. Let's assume that we've got this packet together. We walk up to the house. It's 2 o'clock. Let's talk about some things before we even get there. Okay? It'd be great if you guys were sophisticated enough to email them your appointment time. As soon as you get off the phone with them, email them and say in the email, hey, here's just a little bit more about my company. Maybe include some testimonials, maybe include your welcome letter, maybe include a flyer, maybe include some of those types of things, and say, just to let you know, our appointment is going to be Friday at 4 o'clock. If you have any questions before then, feel free to give me a call. If something comes up, please let us know if you have to reschedule. Okay. When you get off the phone with them, that's something that you should definitely want to have sent out. Okay. Then the day of, call them or email them to remind them. Maybe do both. Okay. I can't tell you how much time this is going to save you if you do stuff like this. Okay. If you email them right when you get off the phone, it's going to confirm the appointment, and even tell them, hey, listen, I'm going to call you the day of our appointment just to make sure that everything's still going to work out, because sometimes we get it, life gets in the way. But just call, we're going to call and confirm. What's the best number I can call you at that day? Then you call them, send them another email, and you show up. If you're supposed to be there at 4, get there about 5 or 10 minutes beforehand and walk around the house before you knock on the front door. They're going to be in their living room looking at you going, why is he looking at this house? Why is he looking at this house? Just do it. Walk around, just take a quick peek at it, maybe take a couple photos, and then walk up, knock on the door, ring the doorbell, and say, hi, my name is Nick. I'm here to buy your house. Are you ready to sell it? It's a great icebreaker, guys. I'm here to buy your house. Are you ready to sell? And if you don't think that you can say that, you think, oh my gosh, that's pretty brash and that's pretty, that's not my style. Well, deal with it. Try it one time, and you'll get a laugh. Well, I don't know what price are you gonna offer? I don't know. Let me see inside. Give me the tour. Okay. You can come up with your own little thing. I used to say it's 2 o'clock. Are you ready to sell your house? Or it's 4 o'clock. Are you ready to sell your house? Just something to break the ice. I think the best one off the cuff I ever did was, you guys have maybe heard me talk about this before. I walked up to a guy, and he had a fishing T-shirt on, and it was like from Branson or something, and it had like a largemouth bass and a guy with a fishing pole. I can't even remember. And I looked him right in the eye, and I said, "Hey, have you ever heard about the one-armed fisherman?" And he said, "No." And I said, "He caught a fish this big." And instantly, his guard was let down. He cracked a little bit of a smile. He didn't really chuckle, but he cracked a little bit of a smile and said, "Hi, I'm Steve." And I said, "I'm Nick. Can you show me around?" He said, "Sure." And it just kind of let his guard down. Just kind of, he didn't know what to expect from me. I didn't really know what to expect from him. But it just, well, I'll walk through the rest of the story on him. So he let me inside. I asked him a couple questions, and I can't remember exactly how the conversation went, but within the first 5 or 10 minutes, I realized exactly why he was selling this house. Okay. He was selling this house because they put their mother into a home about 4 years ago. And he had a couple siblings, but he lived in St. Charles, and this house was in South City. He had a couple siblings, but he was tasked with keeping up with the house. The house was full of a lot of stuff, and you can tell that it had been sifted through many times, but it was full of a lot of stuff still, just trinkets and smalls and knickknacks and furniture, and nothing really crazy of value, but it was just stuff that they had to deal with. And so slowly he had been going through it. The roof had started to leak a little bit, so he was pointing that out. And I realized that he had been taking care of this house for 4 years, coming down every other week, cutting the grass, collecting the mail, paying the gas bill in the wintertime, going through this stuff and trying to figure out, hey, how do I get rid of all this stuff? He was just done after doing that for 4 years, every other weekend, trying to take care of this house. He just didn't want to do it anymore. Okay, the word on the street was saying that he wanted between $40,000 and $50,000 for this house, and I was probably willing to give about 40,000. Was probably going to be the max that I was willing to go. But the more he kept talking, the more I realized, man, he does not want this house. Okay, He's just done. He's sick of doing it. So he went through and showed me all the stuff that was wrong with it. Again, I'm not the kind of person that walks in and says, "Oh my gosh, do you smell that mold? I'm gonna get a headache." They know there's mold in the house. I might make mention of it just to let them know that I did notice it, but I'm not gonna beat up their house. That's why they're calling you. A realtor would come in and beat up the house. They know their house sucks. They know their house needs work. That's why they would call us, because we offer a solution where we might be able to pay cash for the house. Whereas a realtor is going to say, well, you got to do X, X, and X. And they don't want to do X, X, and X. This guy did not want to do X, X, and X. He didn't want to do anything but give me the keys and get a check. Okay? So I'm not that kind of person that does that. And I'm not saying that's bad. It's just that's not my style. Okay? So anyhow, I walked through the house, looked at all the good stuff, looked at all the bad stuff. Um, you know, kind of took some notes down, took a couple pictures, walked around, and at the end, just kind of wound back up in the living room and said, "Okay, well, you know what? I think I'm interested in this house. It's a nice house. I think I can help you out. Um, and with all the stuff in here, are you planning on keeping it here?" He said, "Well, I don't know what to do with it." I said, "Well, a lot of times people just leave the stuff, and our guys can just clean it out because it's cheaper for us to do that anyway." He goes, "Oh, you do that?" And I could just tell instantly, like that was exactly what he wanted to hear, right? I said, "Yeah, absolutely. It's potentially something that if you want, if we can agree on the right price, just leave it all here. Just if you want anything, take it. If not, just leave it here." He's like, "Oh, that'd be a huge relief." And I said, "Okay, well, what price were you thinking of asking for this?" And he said, "Well, the family thinks it's worth between 40 and 60,000. I think is what it was, between 40 and 60,000." He's like, "Honestly, I don't see it. Would you do it for 30?" And right then and there, I stuck my hand out and offered to shake his hand. And he shook my hand. I said, "You got yourself a deal, sir. I'll pay 30 for this house." Now, I didn't even hesitate. I didn't even try to offer him 25. He might have taken it at 25. He might not have. I don't know. And I'm not even kicking myself because I got a really good deal at 30. That was a fair price. That was initially going to be my offer, there's several lessons to that, first of all. But let's just get back to this first point, which is I was thinking about offering around 30 anyway, because I thought he was going to ask about 40. So I was willing to pay 30 for it. It needed about $35,000 worth of stuff, and it's worth about 125. It's a good little deal, a nice solid little house. Everything looked like this was just going to be a deal that we were going to do. I might have even paid 40 for it if he wouldn't have got off his number. So when he said 30, I shook his hand and said, "Let's go write it up." That was a deal that I'm going to do. Okay. Now, could I have went to 25? Maybe. Okay. But I don't know. It seemed like a fair deal for me. Let's just go ahead and do it. Okay. I'm not going to try to negotiate lower because that's the price that I was willing to pay anyway. The second lesson is don't ever, ever say the price before the seller does. Because my intel had said that he wanted between $40,000 and $60,000. If I had said, "Okay, I'm prepared to offer you 40," he would have stuck his hand out and shook my hand and said, "Okay, let's do it." Okay, and then I would have lost out on $10,000 worth of profit. Does that make sense? Always ask the seller what he's willing, what they're asking, because it might surprise you. And in that instance, it surprised me. Okay. So if I had just said, "Well, I'm prepared to offer 40,000 on this," he would have said, "Okay." And I would have never known that he would have taken less. Okay. The fact that he said, and he was a real guy, he was just done with this house. And the rapport that I made with him right from the get-go was, that I'm a real person, that I'm not out to pull the wool over anyone's eyes. Everything looked like we were on the up and up. And I will admit, on that particular appointment, I didn't bring a contract, so we had to race to the office. And I asked him if he would follow me to the office, and we went to the office and we wrote it up. My bad, but it is that important because we agreed on 30. But what if he had another appointment right after us? And the other guy said, "Oh, I'll pay 35." I would have lost out on it, right? So trust me, bring a contract to every house that you go to. Just have them in your car, if nothing else. But yeah, always make sure that the seller says their price before you do. Most of the time, they're going to say, "Well, I want 60 for it." Okay, they're still trying to sell it for as much as they can. But at the same time, when you get to the right motivated person, guys, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for motivated individuals, motivated sellers. That's what we're trying to market for. That's who we're trying to talk with. Motivated sellers. That's the type of people that we want to talk to. And if you get in front of the right motivated person, boom, you get yourself a house. Okay. Now, what's cool about that house is later on we ended up selling that property about a month before we put it on the market. Another comp jumped up on the street and sold really quickly for like 139, and it was kind of the same house. It was really nice. I think it had something else that ours didn't have. Maybe it had a nicer garage or something. I can't remember. So we ended up putting it on the market for 135, and we sold it like within a week on the market. So we made a little bit more on that property than we thought we were initially, which is a huge bonus, obviously. So that's that's one scenario in which I spoke with someone. I just built the rapport early. I was just a real person, and I just talked with them. Okay. I will tell you this. As far as story goes, you might have heard me say this one too. Years ago, Keith Emkins spoke at the Southside Investment Club. He's with Home Investors, and he is a stud. Consistently buys 5 to 6 houses a month for like the last 15 years. Clockwork, boom, just does it. He's good at what he does, and he's happy as a clam, just doing his business, and he's really good at it. And he's just a really good guy. Very unassuming too. He's not very boastful. Like, hey, I'm the best investor that there is. Just a hard worker, a smart worker, and knows the grindstone, has his eye on the prize, and just goes for it. And I think it was one of the first times he spoke at the Southside Investment Club, and he got done speaking and opened up the floor to questions. And no one really likes to be that first question. So I raised my hand and said, "Hey, Keith, I got a question." And I started off the Q&A session. And I said, "Hey, I'm having trouble getting sellers to accept my offers. Do you have any advice?" Legitimate question, right? He snapped his fingers, pointed at me, and said, "People do business with people that they like." And everyone laughed. Ha, ha, ha. No one likes Nick Bauer. That's why he's not getting his offers accepted. But and that's kind of why he did it too, which is just kind of a funny thing. But it's really the case. And he dove into that for a minute. He's like, "Look, man, don't be rigid. Don't walk in there and try to beat them up on price and beat them up on how bad their house is. Just be real with them. Build the rapport. Spend time building rapport. Spend time building rapport before you even talk price, before you even talk about the repairs, before you even talk about anything. Get to know them as a person, and you'll be surprised at the difference that you're going to have in taking that approach than just walking in and giving them an offer." And I sat back for a minute and I thought, man, that is actually really, really good advice, because I wasn't doing that. I wasn't taking the time to build a rapport. And this is the time to do it at the house. Remember, when we're on the phone, we're talking about how we're just trying to establish motivation and timing. And in certain situations, we do have to build rapport. We do have to, if it's an out-of-town seller or they're calling a bunch of other people, and we have to impress upon them that we, are a real player in the business. But for the most part, it's just motivation and timing. When we're at the house, we know what the motivation and timing is. Maybe we can dig into that a little bit and use that to our advantage. What would it be like not to have to make another payment on this house? That kind of stuff, right? But at the same time, we're just there to build rapport and see if we can put an offer, put a deal together. And so the very next day after he said that to me, I remember it plain as day. There was an appointment that I was scheduled to go on. And I said, you know what? I'm going to build rapport. I went in there and I built the rapport and I bought the house for $3,500, which is kind of a funny story that I think I have enough time to tell, but let me finish this thought. I bought it for $3,500 and I sold it for $14,000 like the next week. Okay. And I know for a fact they wouldn't have bought it from me if I hadn't built the rapport. And I'll prove it to you. I had actually gone on that appointment 2 weeks earlier, and ironically, Keith Emkin was on this house. Him and his little minions were scrambling on this house, and so I went over there about 2 weeks earlier, took the phone call, screened them. Then I went to the appointment and went there. And I walked in, and the first thing that I said, and I was real with them, but I said the first thing that I said was, "Man, you're not going to get more than $5,000 for this house." And they said, "What do you mean? We're asking 30." I'm like, "I know what you're asking, but you're not going to get more than $5,000 for this house." I said, "Why not?" I'm like, "Because this needs a lot of work. Look, this is going to be worth about $189,000 when it's done, but easily this needs $120,000 of the work. There's only a few people that buy these types of properties that need this much work, and I'm one of them. And I know this really well. I don't think you're going to get more than $5,000 for it." He's like, "Oh, well, I can't take that." That's fine. I'm just being real with you, man. You're not going to get anywhere close to 30. Trust me. And he goes, "Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to go back to my wife because I don't think I'm going to be able to take 5,000." I said, "That's fine." Shook his hand, thanked him for his time. You know, I looked around for a little bit, but yeah, that's just how it was. It needed everything, guys. The roof had never been touched in 20 years. I think there was weeds growing in the kitchen, like waist high weeds growing in the kitchen. It was pretty rough. Foundation and the walls, like the brick walls and everything was fine. It had like a weird 5-car garage in the back that needed to be bulldozed. All kinds of trees in the yard that needed to be cleared. It was just a completely neglected house. So when they called me back, said, "Hey, listen, we thought about it, and could you come back out and make us an offer?" And I said, "Okay, but you're not going to get more than 5,000 for this house. I don't want to waste your time. I'm not anywhere close to 30,000." And they said, "Yeah, we know. Come on out." Come to find out, Keith Emkin went over there and as well kind of confirmed the same thing. In fact, he didn't even make an offer. He wasn't even interested in the house. Okay. So when I went over there that day, right after the SSIC meeting, I walked up and I was just a real person. And it was the first time that I met the wife. "Hey, how are you?" I found out she grew up in the house. They lived here up until about 8 years ago, and then they moved away because they didn't have enough money to fix it up, and they started renting a house that didn't need any work, and they're very happy there, but they just have been sitting on this house and don't know what to do with it. So I talked about how I kind of grew up in the area, where are you initially from, blah, 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 blah. Just talked about all that kind of stuff until finally I got to a point in the conversation where I realized, okay, it's time to start talking about this house again. I said, "Okay, well, I'm interested in the house." And like, "Okay, well, we're willing to take your offer." I said, "Well, my offer is $3,500. And she looked at me and said, "I thought your offer was 5,000. I said, "No, you're not going to get more than 5,000 for this, but I'll offer you 3,500. And she was like, "Wow, okay. I guess we got to take that." So I wrote it up and was on my way. And it was that simple, guys. I mean, if I hadn't taken the time to build the rapport, she might have pushed back a little bit more on that 5,000. And again, I didn't say that I was going to ever say that I was going to offer 5,000 on that property. I just said, you're not going to get more than 5,000 for this. No one, and it was the case. They'd shopped around, so other people wouldn't even go over to the house. And so when I went back over there, I knew that that was the case because I'd asked her, does anyone else know? Home investors wouldn't even come out to the house. We just had a hard time getting anyone to even come over here. I knew it, so I offered 3,500, and they took it. So I think I closed it up and sold it to somebody else within the same week or something. I can't remember. And one of my buy and hold investors at the time actually wanted to buy it and have his dad rehab it, and his dad was actually going to live in it. His dad lived a block down in that particular area. So just a weird connection. I can't remember even how. I think I sent out an email to my people, and he called me back within 5 minutes and said, "Hey, I think we'll buy this." So it was real simple. It was just a good, nice little connection there. So taking the time to build the rapport and talking to that person is so key and so huge, guys. People do business with people that they like. And I know for a fact even recently, Angie is on my acquisitions team, and she has been getting some good deals here just off of seller leads. And I know she, you guys probably know this, but she's a nice person. You want to talk to her. She's very engaging. She is a professional person. She carries herself well, and she's been able to get deals out from other people that I know that for a fact that other people were higher. It's just she takes the time to build that rapport and talk to them like a real person. Sometimes she might be talking with a seller for 2 to 3 weeks before we get something under contract. Timing's not right, or they're out of town, or whatever. And sometimes it's just kind of how it is. And so she takes that extra time. If we don't get under contract when she first meets with them, she'll send them an email. Hey, thanks for letting me take a look at your house. Give me a call if you have any other questions. That kind of extra personal touch stuff kind of really works. This is a sales position. You have to sell yourself, and you have to be a problem solver, and you have to be you're there to help. That kind of attitude, and that works well. That works really, really well. And I hope you guys can see my methodology of not walking in and saying, "Oh, this house stinks. Do you smell that mold? I'm going to get a headache. Do you need Advil? I need to pop some Advil right away. Or do you have a mask?" That I don't know. I know that works for some people. That's not my style. I've tried a lot of different styles over the years, and the style that works for me is just being me and walking in and trying to be real with people. And it's met with appreciation and gratitude and an accepted offer. That's what more than not, that's what happens. And you're not going to win them all by any stretch of the imagination. Do not think that you're going to go on every appointment and get one. In fact, we just did this for and we're working on this number now because this is way too high. But for every 35 houses that we look at, we buy one. Now, I'm not saying going inside, but every 35 opportunities, from even the smallest opportunity we're recording, that really should be about 20 houses. That we're trying to get that down. That's one of the key indicators that we're looking at to see where we're at in our business. But we definitely need to get that down. But you're not going to win them all. We look at a lot of houses to be able to buy them. In fact, we picked up a couple really good ones in the last 2 weeks that you guys will find out about shortly. I was going to take a little bit out tonight to talk about them, but I don't want to do that. I want to just finish our thoughts here because I think we've covered some really good ground. But yeah, we look at a lot of houses before we get a house under contract or before we close on a house. It's a numbers game. You have to look at a lot of houses. You have to talk to a lot of people on the phone. You have to go to a lot of appointments. But the whole reason why we're figuring out motivation and timing on the phone is so that we're not wasting our time with people who are unrealistic or not motivated enough to sell their house. We don't want to go on that appointment. In the beginning, guys, go on every single appointment that you can. get your process down, have this welcome packet together, your credibility kit together, have all that stuff down, understand how the comps work, understand how your asset acquisition worksheet works, read the contract backwards and forwards, know it. Practice on people, even if there's no way in hell you're going to buy that house, go over there and practice. Practice on the people that there's no way that you're ever going to buy this house, so you got nothing to lose. Go in there and give it your best shot and just try to figure it out and go on those appointments, because the last thing you want to do is just go on an appointment and have no experience of doing it and totally flub it all up. And it could have been a house that if you'd done things a little bit differently, you could have bought it. So in any event, guys, that's kind of pretty much what I wanted to cover tonight. The credibility kit is not 100% essential, but the more of this that you have, the better off you look. At the very least, bring a contract. But if you have all of these things and you come up to the person's house and you look around for a few minutes and then you take a couple photos and you walk up and ring the doorbell or knock on the door and they open the door and say, "Hey, my name's Nick. I hear you want to sell your house. You ready to sell it? Because I'm ready to buy it." Whatever your intro line is, practice it, whatever. Hey, it's 4 o'clock. Time to get your home sold. You ready? Whatever it is, figure that out. Walk in, introduce yourself, shake their hand, thank them for the appointment. Can you please show me around? You know, just walk in, be real with them, build a rapport, ask them questions, figure out who they are, where they're coming from, why they're selling if it's not apparent already, and just dive into that stuff and talk to them and build that rapport. That's my approach. It works for me. You guys can use most of the same stuff. It's an art form, guys. I'm not the best at it. I just know it works for me, and I've shared a lot of that. So I think we could probably take another training off of this as well and cover a couple other stories. Maybe have Craig's take on it, or maybe have Angie's take on it, or someone else's take on it, because we all do it just a little bit differently. But I think the main points are having some sort of credibility kit, sending them an email reminding them of their appointment time and our contact information in case something changes. The day of, calling them, sending them an email again to remind them, showing up and being real and building rapport. I think that's really, you really can't do much more than that, guys. You have all that stuff together and it's going to be good. So hope I shared some good wisdom with you guys here tonight. We had a pretty good participation. Are there any questions about any of the materials that I covered? Any questions whatsoever? Type them in. I must have done a fantastic job at explaining this because there are no questions. So that's great. Tell. Paulette says tell. Hold on, Paulette. Let me unmute you here. All right, Paulette, you're unmuted. Paulette? Oh, okay. Here's her question. So after you sign a contract, then what? Tell them you'll see them at closing? Oh. Well, you know what? Actually, that's a great question because, oh my gosh, thanks for actually bringing this up. Tell people how you work. This is actually going to get into top business tips when we get, this is a top business tip. We have that top business tips. I got some really good checklists and some top business tips that we're going to cover in another training series. Explaining to people how you work goes miles. Oh my gosh. How does this work? Well, basically, we make it real simple for you. You give us the keys, we write you a check. Does that sound pretty good? Yeah. Okay, that's pretty much how it is. I mean, we write a contract, we give it over to the title company, um, give us 2 to 3 weeks to close it up. They'll run all the title work on it. We'll get all of our ducks in a row and all of our inspections done and all of our contractors lined up and all that kind of stuff to get us bids. The title company will be in touch with you about where to go and how to pick up your check. And then you go, you sign your name. You more than likely will leave the title company with a check that day. It's pretty much that simple. Okay. Um, it really can't be any more simple than that. I mean, explaining to people how they work, how it works is huge. So yeah, pretty much that is. After we sign the contract, hey, we might call you a couple times to gain access to the house, um, so that we can get in and take some of our contractors through and get bids and all that kind of stuff. But it's a pretty simple process. Pretty simple. And that's really the case. Now, after you go under contract, that's when all of your timing starts, guys. That's when you need to start getting your property manager in there if you're going to keep it as a rental. It needs to get um, your contractors over there so you can start collecting bids. I love how Craig puts it. Don't wait till the day of closing to start getting all your bids. You have, from the time that you sign the contract to the time that you close on it, that's 2 to 3 weeks of all of your groundwork that you can be laying in. The free interest. You're not. It doesn't cost you a penny. For 3 weeks, you can get your contractors to get you bids. You can coordinate and select your contractors that you're going to do, and say, okay, I'm closing on Friday the 12th. I want you to start Monday the 14th. Okay, so that you're not losing any downtime, especially on these deals, guys. You do not want to have downtime. The more downtime you have, the more money it costs you. Okay, so if you can get started the day of closing, if not, a couple days after closing or a week after closing, you're just hitting the ground running instead of, oh my gosh, I still got to wait for contractors. I haven't even wrote up my scope of work. I haven't even started getting bids. It might take you a month before you even start on that house. Okay, that can really bog you down. And if you got 2 or 3 of those going, oh my gosh, now you're talking about a lot of money that you're leaving on the table or that you're paying out. Okay. So that's when all of your time frames start. That's where you got to get crack-a-lacking from the moment you go under a contract. But yeah, basically, when explaining to people how you work and what's going to happen, that's their biggest question. Am I going to get my money, and how does this work? Perfect. Yeah. So we'll sign a contract. We'll get everything over to the title company. They'll be in touch about what day and what time, and if there's anything that you need to bring. But pretty much, you sign your name, you get a check, you give us the keys, we shake hands, and we're good. Make it simple. Any other questions, guys? Cool. Well, I out. Um, I think we covered a lot of really good stuff here tonight. Hopefully that this is something that um, helped a lot of you guys out, because this is whether we're getting a lead call, this is whether we're posting on Facebook, this is a friend from high school that found themselves inheriting a house, whatever the situation is, have all these things with them. Even if it's your best friend, take this stuff out there because they're going to see you in a little bit different light if you're come prepared and you know what's up. Okay. Thank you for your time here tonight. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know at any time. And I guess this is Nick signing off. As always, we'll see you at the top or from the top. Talk to you soon.